Hi, I'm Seraphlor, and welcome to yet another video. Honkai Star Rail patch 3.6 is out now, and I want to give my thoughts on the story. Let's get into it. The story is much better this time around than in patch 3.5, but it's still flawed in the usual ways. I'll talk about them later, but for now, let's focus on the good this time. The story reminds me a lot of patch 3.1, where it is a character-driven experience. The focus this time is on Dan Heng and March 7th, characters we've known and grown familiar with ever since the launch of the game. And finally, it feels like their character journeys are making meaningful progress. Let's start with Dan Heng. Dan Heng always felt stagnant, especially after the Xianzhou. He didn't progress as a character in any meaningful way in Penacony either. However, that can be said for the entirety of the Astral Express. The only thing that really changed about them was their newfound sense of purpose. Even in the first half of Emphorius, Dan Heng didn't grow or evolve as a character. However, now with his comrades' lives at stake, as well as the cosmic threat Iron Tomb possesses, Dan Heng finally takes an active role. Evernight kicks him out of Emphorius and sends his corporeal body back to the Astral Express. However, he couldn't communicate with anyone until he defeated the mimetic entities the Memo Snatchers had placed in March's room. He's finally able to communicate with the Express crew and the Geniuses, and even though they tell him that he should stay here, Dan Heng chooses to go back and find his friends. This was amazing, as finally Dan Heng plays an active role in the story again. It is on Emphorius that he once again has a run-in with Evernight, and thanks to the unlikely assistance of Lygus, he manages to locate what's left to fight him. With his help, he temporarily dispels the Memoria obfuscating the Grove and Evernight's hiding place. When he arrives at the Grove, thanks to the Memoria, Dan Heng comes face to face with not only a giant who claims to be Terravox, but Dan Feng, his past life. The Memoria-seeped Grove allows him to view Dan Feng's memories of the past with the rest of the High Cloud Quartet, and it is there that he finally reconciles with the choices he made in the past. Relating the High Cloud Quartet to the Trailblazer and March, Dan Heng realizes that he would have made the same choice Dan Feng had done. After meeting with Terravox himself, Dan Heng inherits the Core Flame and goes on a journey to find the Trailblazer throughout Emphorius. Speaking of the Trailblazer, we didn't really play a major role in this patch, which was a little surprising. We spent most of the time being enslaved by Evernight's whims, trying to escape her maze of Memoria with the help of Cyrene initially before Sunday attempted to pull us out by force. However, not even the power of Harmony could save us from Evernight. Speaking of Evernight, let's talk about her. I feel like the writers underutilized her a bit in this patch, and let me explain why. She's a constant presence in the beginning of the patch, making sure that the Trailblazer remains lost forever, as she practically exists to protect March 7th and her desires, and as such, she took March's desire for their journey to never end to the illogical extreme. She's very underhanded, and is more than happy to kill if it means protecting March 7th, as shown when she attacks the Memo Snatchers and leaves their soulless bodies for Black Swan to discover between Emphorius and the outside world. As Evernight firmly believes, the Remembrance and their cronies are enemies of March, and she even stood by and watched the few Memo Snatchers that entered Emphorius to be swallowed by the Black Tide, becoming grotesque abominations. And then Evernight disappears from the story. We don't see nor hear from her again until Dan Heng rescues the Trailblazer. And in that, I say she's underutilized. It'd be nice if we could see her memosprites constantly monitor Dan Heng, Lygus, and even Finan in the background, having her be a consistent looming presence, and not until she has a role to play in the story. It's a bit of a missed opportunity, to be honest. There are, of course, other things that happen in this patch, like the reveal of the 13th Titan, but it doesn't go anywhere meaningful. I'm sure it will play a role in 3.7, so we'll have to see during the live stream or the patch itself. 3.6 concludes with us reaching the March 7th that Evernight tried to discard, and through a heart-to-heart, March and Evernight reach an agreement, and Evernight retreats back into March's psyche. The trio, reunited at last, are resolved to save Enforius, and kickstart Era Nova along with Cyrene. 3.6 still has the same issues as every other patch. Lots of telling, not enough showing, a severe lack of cinematics, and static PNGs for exposition dumping. But at least like 3.4, the pacing was a bit better this time around. I had a better time reading the story than I did in 3.5, and that's as big as a win this game's storytelling can get. Anyway, that's all I've got to say regarding this patch. Great story overall, still misses the mark with the way it's told. This is a story patch for fans of March 7th and Dan Heng, and there's a lot more content to chew on that I haven't even touched on in this video. But for now, that's it for my thoughts on the patch. What do you all think of this story patch? Did you like it? Dislike it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.